approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
A second.
Agenda approved. Approval of the minutes. Has everybody read them? Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the November 16th meeting?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Minutes approved. Now's the time for citizens and public comment. A couple people had sent messages or emails regarding it. Linda, do you want to go first? Do you mind, or is there a chance your grandson's coming?
He's coming.
Okay, then let's move on. Okay, there's no rush. We'll move on to the second one.
I'll go for public comment by some time. Seth Pratt, 355 2nd Street. I just had two questions and then a concern. So the questions I had was, I was wondering if the Parks Committee had seen the amphitheater report or any information about the downtown streetscape, since that was put in the paper. I just would be interested, excuse me, I'm running out of breath because I'm coming up the stairs. Just interested in seeing what your guys' opinion would be about adding more green space and if that's something that's doable. I guess from my standpoint, I have a little bit of concerns, not as a complaint, but just there's only so much the DPW can do and do well when you're talking about city and limited resources. So I'm just wondering what that would look like, adding more green space down there and what that might do. And you know, the ice skating I think is particularly beneficial, having that at 8th Street and having it be free. So when there was talk about having rental out of the marina, I'm just not sure if that's the best use of that building. But I guess my concern, and I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this, is I know there are fire pits, and there was a fire pit delivered today to Sands Park. I'm not opposed to that. I guess my concern though is, and this might sound really like you wouldn't have to do it, but there's no instructions. Like there's no like, if there's an emergency, call this number, or who to report it to, or don't touch it if you're under this age. You know, given that it's a park and there's not supervision there, it just seems like we're asking for potentially an accident to happen. And I guess I'm just wondering if somebody got burned, who's liable? If that's a city-owned piece of equipment and the city supplied the wood. And I know we would think that children wouldn't have access to lighters and matches, and in an ideal world they wouldn't, but some of the things that kids get their hands on and adults don't even know is very surprising. So I guess I'm just a little concerned that there isn't maybe more of a policy or something posted that says these are the expectations. So I don't know if that's going to be a common practice, but it might be something just to think about on how do we educate some people, because some people are going to be really responsible with that and other people might not. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. It's always good to have someone from City Council come to the meeting, so thank you, Seth. Appreciate it. And we will touch on both those subjects later in the meeting. Who would like to go next?
Hello, my name is Marcus Chick. I'm part of the Manistee Boy Scout Troop 167. I'm at the point in my scout career that I will need to begin an Eagle project, and I'm interested in doing my Eagle project for Sands Park. I myself, since I was a kid, have enjoyed going to Sands Park for ice skating, hanging out with friends, and going after school to get help with homework. My friends and I still use the rec at Sands Park, and I have heard that they could use some help with painting, clearing some shrubs, and sprucing it up a bit. The rec at Sands Park isn't only a place for teens, it's a place for the whole family. Families can gather there for parties, skating, watching baseball, or they can just come in, hang out, and play games. I would really like to help rec at Sands Park get a sandbox for younger children. All the things that I mentioned can be done as part of my Eagle project. I'm here to share my ideas and ask for your permission and financial support to complete the project. My scout troop and I will complete all the work. What I need from you is help with the cost of materials to build the sandbox with a cover. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm looking forward to working with you to complete this project. Does anybody have any questions?
Do you have a cost projection for the
Not yet.
Not yet?
It's kind of an idea to just run it past you guys. So
How big of a sandbox are you looking at making?
don't really know.
Don't really know?
So
Okay. So you have the scope of what you want to do, you just don't have the project size to be able to do it?
basically just build a box that goes in the ground and then has a cover on top so the neighborhood cats and stuff can't get into it.
Okay.
At least still have something for the kids.
You got somebody working with you as far as the design of the, I know it's just a box, but there's certain things obviously that I gotta,
Just basically made out of lumber and
Okay.
everything. Just I don't have exact details and everything. I just kind of thought of an idea.
what's the goal of the projected date that you want to do that?
Sometime in the spring.
Okay, so you have to have it completed this year for your Eagle Scouts?
Yes, I'll be turning 17
Okay.
April.
And I know for something like that, you've gotten your approval for your project. You have to submit it yet, or you haven't
Well,
done
I
that?
have to talk to the city first and
Okay. And then once we give you the permission, then you present it?
yes,
Do the scouts then have to approve it too, right?
yes.
Okay.
Have you thought about placement?
Well,
Yeah.
Maybe I can help him with that. Jill and I talked about it, and we thought between the building and behind the skate park, like right along in there where the old swing set is to the west, so it's closer to the building because the children are younger, rather than to put it on the east side over by all that playground.
And then like painting, would you want our help on the cost of the paint, or would that come from somewhere else?
So
Said something about painting.
if I can interject that, in the current budget, we've got money set aside and budgeted for supporting volunteer projects. So there's funds available that could support this type of project. And I have plenty of beach sand I can get you for the sandbox. So I don't see that as being a hurdle for us to participate with them.
Well, first, congratulations on sticking in scouting.
Absolutely.
Second thing, thank you for thinking.
definitely something I've enjoyed. So
Yeah, thank you. That's an excellent program, and it's excellent that you thought of the parks, so,
teach me life skills and everything. How to be
Yeah.
successful.
No,
Yes.
awesome.
yeah.
Thank you.
So want a little discussion here, or?
I think, I mean, obviously make a motion to approve the project.
I agree.
Yeah.
Support.
And then we'll support you with that. I mean, it'd be nice if you came back with some type of, when our next meeting,
Design it.
design, you know, what we can do for you.
Cost, projection.
Materials, cost.
Yes.
And I think the date that you think you're gonna have it done, and, yep, the location, and just those same questions, but
Alrighty.
I think you're off to a good start.
Thank you.
And thank you for presenting it.
Alright.
Make a motion to,
I'll second Tim's motion.
Yeah.
very good. We support you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That is one of your best resources right
There
there.
you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Along with his other 50 projects.
Anybody else want to, Katie, Becky?
My name is Becky Danison. I am a resident of Manistee, and I sit on the leadership committee for the chamber this spring that we're starting our project. Our project that we're going to be talking about today is an upgrade. Everybody should have gotten this form right here. We're trying to do, we're going to be working on an upgrade to the dog park down at First Street Beach. We're looking at updating the fencing. You can kind of follow through. We've been in touch with Jeff with the Department of, with the City Department of Works. Sorry, Jeff. Public Works. To also assist us in getting running water to that park for the dogs. We have a lot of ideas that we're working on. How can we put wind barriers in there? Because we're finding when we went down and looked at it, there's a lot of sand that accumulates inside that, what kind of landscaping we could do around it just to make it look a little bit nicer. And then are there other things that we could do, like adding a small agility course to it? So that the dogs had a place to run around in when they are there.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, so the bigger packet that you guys have, those are just kind of our our initial ideas for the type of kind of agility, or you could say like dog playground equipment that we could construct and add to the park. And with that, you know, we were just trying to come to you guys to know if you're accepting of this project, and if you all have any additional ideas where you might want to see some specific improvement, we can take it back to the group for consideration and make sure that, you know, that idea is talked about, so.
I guess, you know, I have nothing against the idea or anything, but it just seems like it's a small area to try to put up an agility course. And in the past, as a commission, we've talked about like a bigger park located at Morton's.
Yeah, so the group, we do have, depending on how much funding we receive, because part of being in the chamber leadership group, you know, we do, one day a month we go out and visit different industries within the county, but then this project, selecting a project, is also a big part of the program. So throughout the program, there are certain individuals who will be looking for sponsorship to fund it. And if we ultimately obtain enough funding to look to pursue another area, that is something that the group wants to pursue. We've heard the non-motorized park thrown around as an idea. There's a lot of area out there, and also the Morton Salt Park. So I think that once we have a better idea of what kind of funding is coming in, we could potentially start looking at a second location and could come back before you at that time.
I agree with Lainey on that. I think the park is too, we've got a mid-sized dog, not even a large dog, but that park would be too small. She wouldn't get much exercise there. They have to run. So, yeah, and those agility courses are great. Other towns have them. People are judging your town
Right.
by how dog-friendly it is, what you offer for dogs. It's written up. That's a big thing now for, especially for millennials visiting your town. So,
And
I thank you for.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think this is a great project, but I think the space is, like Lainey said, is
And ultimately, if we can't fit like a full agility course,
Right.
putting in like a tetherball, or just more so, not really agility, but amenities, because I know I've taken my dog down to First Street Beach Run, and it's nice, and he runs around, then he looks at me like, oh, what's next?
That's all we got.
Even if we can't fit something like a full-scale 2-code type agility course, just being able to place improvements
Right.
in there, and if that's a couple ramps, a weave pole, a tetherball, a little playground, that's kind of the idea that we're going for.
I kind of like what they're going with this. They just want to upgrade it.
Yeah.
That's basically, you don't want to redo it all. You just want to
Right.
add some things to it, make it better. than
With, you know, and with disc golf on the outside, there's no way to expand it. So what can we do with what is there to improve what we've got? I mean, you're going to have a lot of tourists in town this summer that are going to be looking for things like that when they come in.
they do.
And the ability to work with the city to get water there for the pets is a good thing.
Is there a projected price on this as far as you looked at this, as far as what it would take to do the upgrades that you guys want to do?
So we're looking into that right now. That's part of our, when we met last week, that's part of our project that our, that finance team is putting together right now, what that is gonna cost us. The fencing itself, we're thinking $5,000 to $6,000, but we already have someone that has possibly, it may sponsor that. So those are things that we're trying to just finalize with it as we go along.
Yeah, and ultimately, you know, we'll stretch the money as far as we can
Right.
for this park, and hopefully we can do all the improvements that we're hoping for, and then fingers crossed, maybe fence in another area. And if our second area is just simply the fencing, it's, you know, a starting point
Right.
of having that second dog run. But yeah, I don't know, I think that the First Street Beach, probably between, with the fencing, you know, between 8 and 10 is probably a good ballpark figure of what we could invest into that. The fencing is a big portion of that. The water
Right.
hookup is a significant portion. And then, yeah, we'll see what we can do beyond that.
What's your timeline?
So our group is supposed to be pretty much done with everything in June.
Right.
So we're hoping to finalize all the details, and as soon as spring hits, we can make sure that things are, the improvements are physically
Right.
happening.
So how are you gonna reach out for volunteers?
For volunteers, so our whole group is going into resources all over the city we have people from Martin Marietta, PCA, Filer Credit Union. So we're putting our ISD, we're putting our hands out there to say, who do you have willing to do it? If you're willing to volunteer, that would be great. If you're willing to do a sponsorship, that would be great. Those are the things that you're gonna start to see out there on social media and advertisements for those things.
So it sounds like you're gonna run the whole package and do the financing and the volunteers and the whole bit.
Yes, yeah.
Yep.
We have committees for each of them. So we have a couple people that are going out to do the sponsorships. We have a couple people that we call our support group. That's helping us find different resources. We have a finance group that is going to be managing the money to make sure that we're staying within. And we have someone that's going out and just doing research on what the cost is and making that local as we can with that.
Yeah. So ultimately, with you guys coming before you tonight, we wanted to make sure that we would have your blessing with it being a city-owned property and park. And then if you guys had any initial or additional ideas that maybe things we haven't thought of or that we could include with that, we are not here tonight to ask for your volunteer help or any contribution, but if you would like to, by all means.
They did the life jacket project, the same.
Oh, I love
Yes.
that, yeah.
Start to
Yes.
finish, it was a good project. So
Right.
this
Yep, that
was
was
good.
same group, yep.
Good, so,
Yeah.
my only other question would be, that Bill Gamble's starting to talk about the beach master plan, and I'm sure that this fits in, but I would want to make sure not too much has been done on that yet, but that this would, and Kitty, you'd probably been involved in that a little bit, so. Yeah, so I just would say we all got to work together on
Yes,
that.
that's a
Right.
very good point. I
So-
will keep that in mind.
And those are people we've been in touch with. We've had someone meet with Jeff. We've had someone meet with Bill, so that we can keep everything flowing
Yes.
while we start to move forward on this project.
Perfect, just keep us in the loop a little bit, we'd appreciate that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Awesome.
I applaud you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. And you guys have my contact info, or you can find it on the county website. If not, if you have any, and then Becky's is on the flyer as well. So
Right.
if you have any additional ideas or anything that comes to mind after the meeting, please, reach out to us.
Can I understand, so you're part of the Manistee Area Chamber of Commerce, and you're a different part of that? How does this,
So the Chamber Leadership Group is a program that is put on by the Manistee Area Chamber of Commerce, and they open it up to any members of the community. Your employer agrees to allow for you to be part of the year-long program, the leadership group, and then it's all done and sponsored by the chamber. So there's 13 individuals in our group, and as Becky had said, they're from all different sectors of yeah.
Yeah.
So the group that did the life jackets last year is a different group.
Right.
They picked a project, they graduated. This is the current group,
Class.
Okay.
kind of class for this year, and this is the project that they have chosen.
Reunion.
Wow.
So this is the 10th year that they've had it going on, so.
Yeah.
thanks for thinking of it.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Again, yes, thank you.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Anyone else that's here? It's great to see people
I
here.
do. Yeah, I love it.
Great, this is exciting.
It is.
Hello, thank you for my time. I'm Bill Weiner. I'm a resident at 410 Pine Street. I just wanted to come and introduce myself, and I have kind of a short agenda and a long agenda, depending on your interests. For the past 3 years, I've been a volunteer groomer at the non-motorized ski park. Myself and irregular group of volunteers have been kind of cleaning up the park and grooming it. And my short agenda is that wanted to get familiar with the council and also to try and see if we can get it more incorporated with the city parks, because on the website it's not even included. And I've found in trying to generate interest amongst the skiers that most people don't really even know it exists, even our own tourism council. So I'd like to see if we could get to more inclusion with the park, maybe even advertise it. And the other thing that I want to do is make sure that we can try and keep it the way that it is. And maybe make some improvements. At that point, I could go on with the improvements, but I can say that if you hook those dogs up to me and we run out at the ski park, they're going to get plenty of exercise. But since that topic was broached, one of the things that we're looking at, and I have kind of a long, big plan list, is that I don't know if you've heard of the sport called ski jording.
Yeah.
That's where you hook up dogs to a skier.
Yes.
It's a lot less dogs than an expense than a dog sled,
Yeah.
and they pull. Well, you know, in northern Michigan, Lower Peninsula, there's really no place to go for that I'm aware of. Here we have the park with all this land. Skiers really don't like to have the dogs on the ski trails for various reasons that you can probably imagine, but there's plenty of land out there to do that. And so we're wanting to improve, you know, the opportunities for everyone out there. The snowshoeing trail hasn't been really well popularized, and that's dog friendly. The regular ski trails have, I mean, this is the only place you can go for free skate skiing. It's totally free. The city does a fantastic job keeping the parking lot plowed, and hopefully I'm doing, and with my colleagues, a much better job at keeping the trails groomed, even though the Mother Nature has certainly made it challenging the past 2 years. Hopefully we won't get too much rain. So I'd be very happy to answer any questions or present some more ideas about the park if you wish.
As a skate skier, I want to say thank you.
You, yes.
I have been wondering who's been doing that, and you guys have been doing a great job. I was out there last week. I thought, man, I better get out there right now before it disappears. I mean, I got to give you a lot of credit because the weather has been so uncooperative, and it was only 7 degrees, so I wasn't out there very long. But thank you.
And John is a former groomer and did so much with Big M, and you did so much with that one too. So John's been instrumental too. So thank you.
Well, even without advertisement, it's gradually getting out. Saturday when I was there were 5 cars and 7 total during the time. Sunday there were 4 cars, 5 total during the time. So it is getting, and I think from what the feedback that I do get when I'm there is that they feel it's being groomed and a pleasant place to go. And unlike Big M, it's so much closer to town. You can go there after work and get some exercise, and it appeals to some people because it's painfully flat. Not everybody likes those wild downhill thrill things, and you know, at there, if you're not skiing, you're not getting exercise, so you have to get it both ways.
Very good. Well, thank you for doing that, because it is, I believe it's very well used. And I probably need a little more advertising, but everybody who goes out there, just to reiterate what you said, it's free, close to home, and it's well groomed. So, you know, in one idea, I like activities, like we all know, to promote the parks. That would be to have a Saturday afternoon, and my niece has done this up in Onekama, and I think they, can't remember where they got the skis from. They offered a teaching day for skate ski.
Huh?
And her and her daughter did it, Subkoviaks, I don't know if you attended one, but maybe she'd do something like that just to get people into the sport and to get to try it and bring people out there. So just an idea on something like that. So
I think our biggest problem is that to get more people into the sport is there's really no place to get skis. And Ken Blakey Shell has, you know, people tell me there's money to do things like this, and he's promoted with the schools, but also up in Benzie, the Crystal Mountain,
yes,
with their ski school and cross-country skiing and their team, you know, they're by all accounts doing very well, but it's kind of hard for my patients, for example, and families to get all the way up to Benzie. This would be much easier if we can solve that problem. And he does have the skis, it's just a mechanism of doing that. We obviously can't just leave skis lying out there, they'll disappear.
Right. Is there a way that we could somehow get, because they're the same as cross-country skis, right? Ski skating, or are they two
That's a whole
different?
different package.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Different equipment.
Because I was thinking, I see them in Goodwill, things of that sort.
No.
Well, if you don't know, the traditional way, which has been around for thousands of years, now they think the Russians invented it, are diagonal skis. They're a little bit longer. You go in the tracks, and we putting down tracks out there was challenging. So far, challenging this year because we had the really cold weather, and the snow is very fluffy, and the sled is very heavy for that. The snowmobile's not that powerful, and I got it hung up 3 times, which isn't much fun. So we've basically been packing it. But the diagonal skis are thinner, and there's no grip on them at all. There's no fish scales or grip wax. They're actually much easier to take care of. Most people now are just spraying on some nonstick and use the edges of the ski, and it's like rollerblading. You go from one side to the other side, double poling. It's roughly 2 to 3 times faster. It's a lot more calories if you get after it, but that's what we're after. So, and they do make combi skis that are supposed to do both. It's kind of one of those things where it doesn't do either one of them very well, but you could do both. And
Thank you.
What would you like from us? How could we help you?
well, right now I'm just introducing, and then it's a odd group because the Manistee Ski Council, I'm secretary of the Manistee Ski Council, they're mainly concerned with Big M and the National Forest Service, and previously had been the Shoreline Cycling Club at the non-motorized park. But we're getting people that are interested in grooming and interested in skiing. And then, we want to have, you guys are the oversight to make sure that, the park stays and is used. We want to, people enjoy it and have a good time. And there are a lot of upgrades that would be quite handy to do. One of the troubles we have is that the snowmobile sits out in the weather the whole time. And so that's kind of hard on the snowmobile, and it's kind of ending its life too. It's a special snowmobile that has a lower gear for pulling the sleds, because that's kind of hard. It's not a regular snowmobile. And I think in the long-term plans, we'd like to have some sort of an outhouse or some sort of facilities there so that, people don't have to go in the woods or something like that. Maybe the dogs, I guess. And we talked about the rentals. The parking lot, it's getting busier and busier. And like I said, it's whoever plows it, and I've never caught up with them, but they really do very, very well in keeping the parking lot well. We have been expanding the trails. We'd like to talk about getting skijording trails so that the dogs could pull people, and I think that would bring in a lot of people to Manistee County because there's really no place where the dogs are welcome. And we'd like to increase the the snowshoeing. The signage is up there, and we have lights on the signage now that were contributed. We thought, Traverse has the Vaza ski races, and they have, when snow permits, the sprint races, but this would be an ideal place to have sprint races. It's obviously not going to be a marathon race when you've got 3 1-mile loops, but for sprinting, that would be kind of fun. If there's ever any possibility for expansion, we've talked about that there's someone has bought a large tract of land and logged it, and I don't know what their plans are, but if it ever went up for sale and we could look at expanding the course, that would be kind of nice. We'd like to get flyers out so that the hotels and the Tourism Bureau could let people know it's theirs and what could be expected. Another thing is it has a lot of oak trees around the trails. Oak trees are not really our friends. I love oak wood and oak furniture, but they hold on to their leaves and let the leaves go just after I've groomed it.
Yeah.
wax skis just attract oak leaves like crazy. So there's a thought that maybe, with your permission, of course, clearing out the oak trees from maybe 20 feet on either side of the trail so that the oak trees and their leaves don't be a problem all during the season. The tree that's in front of the sign is dead as a doornail. It's got very large limbs, and I don't know the exact mechanism for taking that down, but it needs to be taken down. So that's one thing. We'd like to consolidate the websites. If you ever looked at the websites for the non-motorized park, depending on how you do your Google search, you get in all sorts of things. I've been updating the grooming as much as I can on skimanistee.org so that people know when it's a good time to go out grooming. When it's not groomed, as everybody knows, it's not as much fun. And then we'd like to work with the dog people and get skidboarding. There's plenty of room there. There's some kind of like obstacle things out there. I don't really know that it's what is being looked at. And then there's the bicycle motocross kind of place that I think hasn't been used very much in the past couple of years, but maybe that needs to be promoted as well.
One suggestion would be, sometimes, at least I have a hard time seeing it from the road. You go past it and then I turn around because I know I've gone too far. But a sign that was nearer to the road, not just for directions, but would also give you a little advertising. Gee, I didn't even know that was a non-motorized cross-country trail. So I think people who come on M55 all the time don't even know that that exists back there. So you have to kind of know it's there to make that turn.
Yeah, the sign placement was dictated by the state of Michigan.
Okay.
But I do think if
right?
we put like a two-sided, so it was angled out,
Change it a
it would
little.
stand out a little bit
Yeah,
more.
just stand out a little bit more, because even knowing it's there, it's hard to see, but no one who didn't know it was there would ever see it.
Yeah.
Something across the street, maybe, that could help?
I think it's like a 200-foot right-of-way there, so you have to abide by that setback.
If the large tree was taken down, which is dead, that sign would be much, much more visible, and there are now solar lights on the sign because, a large part of the season, when you get off work, it's dark.
Right.
I was just wondering, when do you have your meetings?
Our group doesn't have any. Our meeting in the fall is to try and clear the trails, and it's like everything else, you're going to do it, and then the next thing you know, there's snow in the ground. So, being able to have the equipment out there and have some place to put it eventually would be helpful because it's hard to get all the people that do have an interest and want to volunteer there at the same time. And currently, a lot of people are donating equipment to take care of it. I don't think recently whoever's responsible for the groundkeeping of the trails has done a lot. And every once in a while you have to, probably a lot of you know Bob Fry and Roscommon, it's a commercial concern. But if the trail's very, very flat, then you don't need a whole lot of snow to be able to go skiing. You can pack it on a flat trail. But if you have an unflat trail, then you need much more snow to make it flat enough to skate ski.
Well, thank you.
So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sir, I have a question for you. Did you help us support the tennis court project several years ago?
I tried to.
You did.
I did.
He contributed towards that project so that we could have a professional practice board up on that fence when we did the tennis court. I've never met you in person, but I wanted to thank you publicly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other public comments? Yes, Sheila.
I'm Sheila Kaminsky. I'm the director at the Rec at Sands Park. I would like to encourage and thank you for helping Marcus with his sandbox idea. We had talked about that some time ago and how we would help by having trucks and toys and things like that inside the rec so that people could check them out and go just like we do with tennis rackets and baseball equipment and basketball equipment and what have you. I also would like to ask a question. Was there a memo about the fire thing in the yard?
The fire pit?
Yeah. Thank you. I don't know what I don't know what it is. I don't know. I went there today to get something this morning, and there it was. Excuse me. But I was a little taken aback and shocked. I don't know who's going to do what with it. I don't know if we're not supposed to see it or do anything to it or with it, but we have some responsibility there. I have employees that are going to show up for work and go, same thing I did. What's that? I don't know. And people are going to come in and ask, and we know nothing. I just am sorry that we didn't get a little heads up. That's all I wanted to say.
Sheila, is it one of those like it's down at First Street, the metal?
Oh, heck, it's,
Is it that?
It is, it's the same one.
and there is a
Pyramid?
Okay.
of pallets sitting there.
We just delivered it today.
Is it to stay there or is it for storage?
Well, like we've talked about this since we built that.
Right.
That we were gonna find a place in the parks to put it during the summer, and hopefully it got well used, and we had the possibility of creating more. And when that was constructed, we also talked about having it out for special events, and had talked about that it'd be a nice amenity for the skating when that was put in place. So the ice got solid enough over the weekend, and so we placed that fire pit out there today. It's the same one that we had at Morton when we did the volunteer stuff. I understand the concerns, but it's been down at the Lions Pavilion all summer. We've got, 8 fire pits down there. I mean, if the community says we need to take it back, then we'll take it back and store it, but.
Is there a way to maybe put a sign that says only used with adult supervision, since there are so many kids that
Maybe, yeah.
are down there?
Sure, it's possible.
What are your thoughts, Sheila, on this? You came forward.
I don't have any thoughts yet, because I never gave it a thought until I saw it.
Or maybe they check out the firewood?
I was just gonna say, maybe
You know, somebody
check
has
out
to
the
check out the
firewood.
firewood.
Maybe.
That would only work during the day.
That would only work during
We're
your
only there
hours,
4 or 5 hours
Right,
a day.
right,
It's,
right.
you know, all night long, all day long, who knows what.
The city's ultimately liable if anything happens, and as Jeff has stated, nothing's happened all summer. And was this the first year or the second year we've had those out?
We've had the fire pits at the beaches for probably
Years.
over 6 years.
Yeah,
This particular fire pit we placed down by the Lions Pavilion this summer.
so it seems like things have been working out well, and I guess you should be comfortable that chances are during the day, it won't even be used, but if we're lucky enough to get the right weather for ice skating, it'd be a lovely thing.
If the ice skating was like it was.
Yeah.
Back in the day, when we had great ice, you had that, and it was humming, and we had the music blaring. As a kid, I would have loved to have had a fire pit, but it's not quite like that anymore. So that's what, that would be, back when we were kids, would have been wonderful. But
Well, and, anybody in the community, there's nothing wrong with having marshmallows in the
I was
winter.
just gonna say,
So,
yeah.
it's nice that it's there.
Sheila, you
I'm
might,
not objecting to what it is.
Yes.
Or when they find out if, hey, we don't have ice yet.
Right.
We have a lake. And like I said, not knowing who, what, where, when, and why that thing is doing out there. Is somebody having a party on their own, bringing their equipment? There was no communication.
It would have been nice to
the
inform you.
communication is the real issue, not the fire pit itself.
Yes.
The communication, yeah.
But from what I'm seeing is that, these fire pits are just like what we have down at the beaches. They're for the community to use, first come, first serve, enjoy it, use it. Having used the one at the beaches, the system is pretty much there. People can bring their own wood, they can do their own fire, they can develop things.
And they've been used.
Yeah, they're being used. So I just think that just a little bit of communication with you guys, letting you know that's basically going to be put there, and it's for.
Come and see.
Yeah.
You tell me.
Yeah, but I would say, and like Jeff, I think has said too, you have no responsibility other than knowing that it's there, and the neighborhood has free use of it, for the most part.
that is a programmed space, so maybe there is some programming that you could come up with that would include the fire pit in some way, shape, or form?
Not
With
in
this.
my room.
If you can tell me
Okay.
that you're in it, I'd love to know what that is. but-
Well, I was just thinking like, s'mores or, you could do some, maybe some, I don't know. I'll have to think that one through. I didn't know you got it, but yeah.
And if it's not being used, then that's not the best spot to have it. I think watch it for
Right, true.
this winter, and then if it's not being used, it might be nice in a different park. It might be nice by the marina or somewhere else. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a neat fire pit. So if it's not being used there, we should move it at some point. Okay, thank you. Okay, anybody else? A little bit of correspondence. Got an email from Jen Teller, and she said, here's another opportunity to apply for money for more park improvements this year, especially for the Morton Park parking lot, basketball court, and more playground equipment such as the Caterpillar crawl tube, a 360-degree slide, and a one large structure. And this is the application deadline is March 1st. Hope it will be accomplished. Best regards, Jen Teller. And it was regarding the Manistee County Foundation open grant period and due March 1st. And so we have, Sarah, you're here, but it was just regarding the Manistee Community Foundation grant cycle. And it was nice that Jen looked that up and reminded us. Bill Gamble is talking about the steering committee on the beach master plan. They have set a date as February 2nd at 11:30. If anybody on the commission would like to join in on that, they will have, it's just the start of it, so there will be like monthly meetings or bi-monthly meetings.
February 2nd?
February 2nd at 11:30. I would like to be on there, but there's,
Where's it at?
starting, it's the beach master plan.
Where'd you say it was at?
February 2nd, there will be a meeting at Spicer's at 11:30. So I think we should have some representatives on it, Jeff?
Yeah, so the city manager would like a person from the Parks Commission to be on the steering committee. The steering committee is going to kind of guide and lay out the process, which will include interested parties, other groups that need to be part of the process and going through how to take us through that whole plan and kind of react to this is the executive committee of it. So, and they wanted to set up the first meeting across the lunchtime so that they could have student participation in the steering committee as well. And they thought that would be a easier break during the school day for kids.
You want to appoint somebody to this, like be on the steering, you want to be on the steering committee, or?
Could we have two on there, Jeff, or just one?
He asked for one person.
Yes, for one.
And then the whole commission will be invited, to participate in the whole process. But just for the committee, he asked for one person.
Who would like to be on it? I don't mind, but if someone has a real heart, and John, you've been working hard on this, who would like to be on this? I did reserve one spot, but I can change, not for me, I'm just that someone.
I'll do it unless somebody has a burning desire.
Well-
Did you want to do it, Tim?
It sounded like Liz had a burning desire.
It doesn't matter.
I think she does too.
Somebody's got a burning desire.
Fine.
Which one is it?
You get your name on that thing.
What's that?
You get your name on that thing, if I could put that down. Which one of you would like to be on it?
What, did you want to do it?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay.
Steering committee, I'd like to be on this. Sure.
So, because Tim is out of town and because it's February and winter, can we have a backup in case Tim can't make it?
That's a good idea.
John, you want me back up?
Well, sure.
Okay, so
And maybe
you two will communicate.
ask if both can go to the first.
I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah, I'll get it, if for some reason I can't make it, I'll notify John.
Okay, and then you'll report back to us what happened.
Yes.
Great.
And then there was a note, two notes from Katie, and they've been very good and very communicative on this dog park and their plan and asking if they could present. So I won't read all that. They more than covered that tonight. And then the last thing that correspondence I received, and it's with regret that I read this. It's Dear Chair and Parks Commission members. I am writing to inform you all of my decision to resign from the City of Manistee Parks Commission effective as of today, January 20th, 2024. I have thought long and hard over this decision for many months, now and believe it is the right decision for me and my family. My heart has always been in the right place where Manistee, my hometown, has been concerned. It was a pleasure working alongside each and every one of you, and I wish you all much success with our parks and in your own personal endeavors. Much love to all. Respectfully and sincerely, Kelly Greavy. And that'll be a loss to our commission. She did an outstanding job, and I'm appreciative for every minute that she gave us, and we will have to replace her, and she will be hard to replace. Okay, so, and she was also our vice president, so we'll have to take care of that too. Let me see, where are we now? Should we do that right now?
Vice President, Vice Chair.
Should we do that right now through the vice chair of our commission? I think we'll open it for nominations.
I would like to nominate Karen Maui.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Would you accept the position?
Okay.
Karen's been excellent. She's excellent. I love that enthusiasm.
Yeah, I'll take it.
It's, thank you. Thank you. Karen's excellent, and hopefully, it's a good group, so it shouldn't be too crazy. Okay.
I call you Madam Vice Chair.
Yes.
Madam Chair.
Would you take over? Okay, moving on to committee reports. Morton Park, is there any, were there any financial, we have the numbers of how that all came out at the end? Or a little?
Well, it's not done.
Okay, right.
I submitted our, Sarah, is that a twice a year report or quarterly?
Yep, so it's,
I submitted the appropriate status report with the Manistee County Community Foundation. And Mr. Gamble and I also met with Sarah today to discuss grants and other projects. Essentially, one thing that we've done since the community build was we opened up a section of the border and then kind of ramped the engineered wood fiber so that it removes one of those barriers. I checked with, it had been suggested by I think some council members and members of the commission. I checked with Sinclair Recreation. They said that wouldn't be an issue with any of the codes or playground rules and stuff. So we did that. We got our piece of equipment in, so when the ground thaws out, we'll be able to remove the soil and build the expansion of the basketball court and then install the 2 new hoops there. And then I think the only remaining item was to put the material on the shade structure. And then, did we install those 2 grills yet? Or not? I think we have them. So we'll install 2 grills, and then that portion of that project will be complete. And I can give you updates on the rest of that project if you want.
Is the money gone?
We're doing good. We're doing good. So everything is done at Duffy Park with the exception of we have to hang the fabric on that shade structure. At First Street, we have 2 things that remain. One, we purchased shade structures over the dugouts. When we excavated the holes for those, we found conflicting wires for the overhead lights. So we've hired Top Line to remedy that. So in the spring, we'll be able to install those as we intended. That was a $2,200 cost. So I'll have to see how that shakes out in the budget. And then also we are under contract to do the improvements to the infield at the north softball field. And that'll include keeping the material that's there, but mixing in some of the red clay material that's softer and holds moisture better. And then there's where the stone goes into the outfield.
Yes.
When you rake that, when you drag that
Yes.
for 20, 30 years,
Yes.
some of those stones bounce, they get into the grass, and it's created a lip. It's very, very subtle when you look at it from outside the field. When you're on it or you're playing it, you notice that. So they're going to remove that and make that all flush and appropriate. and then reset the pitcher's mound, the bases, and the batter's boxes. And then that's more than, I mean, because the contractor didn't respond to us for 10 months. So there's another $4,000, you know, the cost has gone up on that portion by about $4,000, but it was about $60,000 less than the only other contractor I could get a price from. So we'll absorb that in our operating budget as we need to, but we'll be able to complete all those projects early this spring.
Was there any chance that maybe if that mini minger or whatever it is, of getting those backboards, the four new ones for First Street Beach that were the glass that looked nice and had
So
rims?
the last, I think it was a couple months ago, 2-3 meetings ago, we talked about actually trying to access that portion of the Community Foundation grants for a backboard at Fifth Avenue. And when I reached out to Sarah, she said, well, you got one open for the playgrounds right now and you got disc golf open. So let's get the disc golf closed and then we could talk about that one. So we've closed the disc golf grant and that's completed and accepted by the foundation. And we ended up pretty close to that budget. I was real happy with that. So that's one of the things we talked about today is I'll be submitting I'm waiting for an updated quote from Sinclair on that hoop and backboard and the pole. And then we'll reach out. We have to do like a pre-application to the foundation. And so we'll start that process.
Okay. Amphitheater, Karen and
Yes.
John, did you see that report yet?
Yes, so the report came back, and the second report is a little more in detail of what we as a city could handle as far as an amphitheater. They initially gave us the high end and the low end, but nothing really in the middle that would be, and help me if I'm saying this incorrectly, but that was the request, is to go back after the December meeting and to have them pinpoint exactly what would work for Manistee as far as both community and I want to say commercial type use, which would be you know, your bigger bands or community. So they did come back with that.
Can we get a copy of that? 'Cause
So
we-
if you don't mind me jumping in on that.
Yes.
So Hunden created a draft report and submitted that to the committee. The committee made comments on it, had a couple meetings on it,
Yes.
made comments and requests and went back to Hunden. Basically what it does is it looks at the overall market. Where are their concert venues? How far away are they? Where are they drawing people from? What is their average, you know, ticket prices? What type of talent are they having? I mean, it's a very thorough, I think, an excellently done study. What they said, what the conclusions were, in Manistee, if we did a project of this size, we could expect this. And if we did a smaller project, we could expect this. Both of those outcomes were a net loss, a net annual loss to the community. Like we would have to subsidize it. It could be up to $400,000 a year. So one of the things,
Is that in maintenance?
one of the
too?
things,
Or
no. One of the things that the committee requested was, okay, so if there's a shortfall in net annual operating expenses, what would it take for us to break even or be profitable on it? And so the revision that just came back 2 days ago, 3 days ago, so we just got it, basically said, you know, if you doubled the ticket prices or you doubled the attendance or you went from 6 large concerts a season to 30 a season. So from my perspective, it helps kind of frame it, like what are the challenges and where would we have a shortfall? I was discussing with the city manager yesterday, I think, and you know, one way that could change that is if we found grants or, you know, a large donation or some way to diminish the capital cost and what the debt retirement would be. So there's still work that the committee needs to do. I think that the city manager intends on putting that that draft out to the council, and then once that's out, then I think we can share it with the Parks Commission.
Loss is projected, I mean, most projects, they don't project a loss. It sometimes happens, but that's a little bit scary. How many, what was the
There's a lot of
size?
public venues that operate with a subsidy.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of my upcoming presentation. There's a lot of public funds that support it.
They were, like, what number were they saying, the capacity of the amphitheater?
At 2,500, if we did 2,500 seats, and the average, this is from me looking at it a couple days ago. The average ticket price was 65, and we had talent. We invested $150,000 in talent per event, and we had 6 events a year. Without any food and beverage revenue, you would have a net loss of like $400,000 a year.
Wow.
Unbelievable, yeah. Really in-depth study too, it's excellent.
But I believe that takes into place, the estimated construction cost and what it would take to build it and debt retirement and that sort of thing, so.
Money well spent on that, definitely.
So, yeah, in my mind, now that committee needs to then peel back those barriers and try to find solutions that could put the puzzle piece back together successfully.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I don't think the city wants to take on being a promoter for any kind of musical acts or anything like that. That's the other thing that.
Right.
Because they come in and then they run it for a few years if you contract with them, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, it feels to me like having this as a concert venue is not the solution for the community. It's going to need to be scaled back to what the community can afford and what the benefits are to the community, and so we've got to figure out what that is.
Yes, well, thank you. And probably, it'd be interesting when we can get the information, probably the communication would be good to share that at some point.
Can I add something?
Yes.
I like the idea, the Salt Shed in Chicago, that they reached out to the Salt Shed, which is kind of an alternative, kind of indie type of musical groups, Black Pumas, Porno for Pyros, those kind of groups, anybody? Okay.
Somehow it had a connection to Morton Salt's corporate office.
Isn't that weird?
And they're no longer involved with it, but that's how the Salt Shed came about. And so
By the name.
somebody so a member of the committee said, maybe they would have some sort of connection because we've got a facility here and
I thought that was a great tie-in, but it didn't sound like they were willing to sit down and talk with us at all.
sure sounds like the promoters like to stick to their wheelhouse and
Exactly.
not mess with anybody else.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Right on that. That's what I got. Interesting. Huge.
John, do you want to speak on not yet, nothing, on the capital improvements? On the capital improvements part, did you?
Oh, capital improvements, yes,
Yes.
we've met a couple of times, and we've also met with Jeff and Treasurer, and we're on track to work with the city and coming up with some capital improvement plans that are consistent with the goals of the city, so that the Parks Commission is part of that process. Basically is where we're at right now.
Thank
John?
you for all your work on this.
So I'm kind of under new business, but do you want me to show a couple of those slides I think it would be the appropriate time to talk about that, if you don't mind.
Fine, do it now.
You want to go to that first one? So I prepared a couple slides, and they're just screenshots from my computer, but this is the current parks operating budget. And I don't expect you to read or even read one line, let alone all of them, but I blew some stuff up and I summarized it. The current parks operating budget is $690,000 today, okay? Can you find the next one? So I summarized that and broke that down. So hopefully you can read this one. So again, the total operating budget is $690,000. when we take all the wages, all the benefits, all the employee expenses, which includes the three full-time employees and 11 part-time employees for seasonal, that totals close to 50% of that amount. Then when we take away utility costs and all the fuel and some of those operating expenses, that's another $65,000. The current budget has $33,500 for consulting, and the majority of that is to create a Riverwalk asset management plan, which we've started that process. The Parks Department pays in $22,000 annually to the motor pool for the use of trucks and various pieces of equipment. And then $85,500 of that budget goes to appropriations. So I was kind of alluding to that when we talked about subsidies for different operations. Those appropriations are broken, or they go to the Saints, the Teen Center, the MRA, and the Payne Aquatic Center at the high school. So that subtotal of what's left after all those are subtracted is $140,000. Of that $140,000, $33,000, I think that subtotal's wrong, I'm sorry. But when you subtract out the operating supplies, so toilet paper, soap, various things like that, it leaves us basically 80, and then this year we've got $22,000 in capital outlay. $12,000 of that was for the volunteer support that I brought up earlier. But it really leaves $81,000 for repairs and maintenance. And I jumped that up quite a bit this year when we were approved for the third full-time employee in the parks, knowing that we're going to have another person, we're going to be able to have a bigger impact. But the point I was trying to get here is there's no real improvements here. I mean, this is just simply operation and maintenance, right? So if you go to the next slide. So when we plan out real change and real improvements, I had broke out what that repair and maintenance, actually where that goes. There's over $13,000 that goes to fertilizing. We budget $3,000 for electrical repairs, $2,000 for contractual plumbing repairs, $10,000 for the porta-johns that are all through those parks. We treat Phragmites at Man-Made Lake, $1,800. The trees where Kelly Greavy had organized the lighting of those trees at the marina, those trees have to be sprayed with a special fungicide every year. That's $1,200. Restrooms, $5,500. That's honestly just to take care of vandalism. $8,000 for mower repairs and operation. $16,000 for various pieces of equipment. Now that could be swings, it could be weed whackers, all kinds of different things. I had $15,000 budgeted this year for a landscape project. We've actually contracted for a project. We're going to improve 3 more of the planting beds at the city marina. I think it was a little over $12,000 when we bid that out. But that's something new that we had put in. It was quite frankly inspired by the work that had been done along the Riverwalk and in the marina in the past few years. And then we had budgeted $2,000 to assist the DDA with repainting some of the planters that are downtown. So, I mean, when you really even dive down to that $81,000 for repairs and maintenance, a lot of it's allocated to anticipated items. Can you go to the next one? So when Brandon and I met with Mr. Veach, and we're trying to explain how, the budgets are structured and how the operating occurs, and I think it was kind of enlightening that the operating budget is really doesn't have any margin for real improvements. So the opportunity for the city to improve its parks comes in a separate budget, and it comes through the capital improvement plan. So this is a copy of the overall capital improvement plan for this year, and it has a generic $5,000 for park amenities. We've got the $1 million of River Rock rehabilitation that we have the EDA grant for, and then have pledged some DDA money to match that. We've got Veterans Memorial Park, which is in the North River Walk, which we've got some bond money that we've set aside. We've got some program money out of our capital improvement plan, and then we recently received a DNR grant, which totals that. Fifth Avenue Beach parking lot and wall, which I've described to you. We're going to repave the parking lot at Fifth Avenue. We're going to put a short wall in on the beach side of that. That's out for bids right now. So we're hoping to have that completed before Memorial Day. But that money's coming out of the capital improvement plan. We had $20,000 budgeted to remove the tennis courts at Sands Park, which we have not done yet. And then we had programmed in $10,000 to seal coat, basically paint the parking lot black at Memorial, and then restripe it I think we need to reallocate where some of the handicap spaces are. With the success of the brewery, we need to move more towards where people are using it. And then also we're going to change the handicap access point when we redo that park. And so we had put some money in anticipation of that. That'll probably get moved until the project actually happens. But just to give you a breakdown of what's happening in the current capital improvement plan. Next year, and this gets updated on an annual basis, but next year nothing is really programmed.
Right.
There isn't a project. So like when Ms. Teller points out that there's a grant opportunity, there is, but we don't have a project lined up for that yet. And we need as a group, I would love for the Parks Commission to weigh in and say, here's projects that we need to do X, Y, and Z, and here's the dollar amounts. I'll work with you on how to come up with estimates for those, and then prioritize those so we can populate this more robustly, so council can see this, so the public can see it, and then we can go out and look at, okay, they've got 6 projects planned in the next 5 years. How do we fund those? Do we get a grant? Do we take money out of the capital improvement plan? Do we need to do both? Do we incorporate that in a bond, or whatever that mechanism is? But right now, we had put in Duffy parking lot paving. So the north half of the parking lot is just gravel still. I'd love to have that paved. We had $40,000 for playground equipment just in the years out. But we don't have a place for that. So if I'm a council person and you're saying $40,000 for playground equipment, I'd rather know where, and I'd rather know that there's a plan, and I'd rather know that the Parks Commission endorses and recommends that. So, so moving forward, I would love to work with you guys to populate what we should request for next year's budget, and the year after, and the year after, and the year after. When you're taking money out of the capital improvement plan, there's only so much money on an annual basis. Different departments also make those requests. Department heads arm wrestle a little bit for it. The city manager makes a recommendation on what they think should be in for should be presented to city council, and then city council makes the ultimate decision on that. And if you actually look through the full capital improvement plan, it's almost the same size as the whole city budget. There's a lot in there because every department has one, and we're trying to do more with parking lots and streets and water and sewer and everything, all of our buildings. So everybody's competing for those funds, but the more work and thought we've got behind this, I think the more successful we can be in getting improvements done.
Thank you. So
one of the things that I might add, especially as a newbie on the Parks Commission, it seems to me like a lot of what in the year 2024 is spent on the Riverwalk and maintaining, you know, doing some things that we couldn't really do before. And so this is really the first opportunity, I think, to help you. And the other thing I like, and you mentioned this to me, is when you're doing this planning for capital improvements, what has been your means of establishing priorities? What's been your method of establishing priorities in the past?
What I've done, I listen to what the Parks Commission is talking about, dreaming about, hoping for, planning, you know, whatever you guys talk about, even though maybe it hasn't been in a formalized process. You got 12 meetings a year, you see. I also hear what the community is saying and hearing. And so I just take all that input. I hear a lot of times the council will express those things. And so maybe it didn't get in this year's budget, but maybe we try for it next year. Disc golf came up, right? So we made that a project. The playground equipment that we're upgrading with the Community Foundation grant, that was in here in a previous budget, but we're implementing those. So what I've done is just taken the various input and then I've put them in there, and we've been able to fund and complete most of those, honestly. But I think we need to look broad, and we need to look throughout the park system.
Do you take in consideration anything with the county plan? Master plan for the county.
Well, the master plan for the county includes the city's master plan.
Exactly.
So the city's master plan, yes. Okay. I don't necessarily consider what the county's doing.
There is a tie-in for everything, and
sure.
That's where I think priorities should come in. That's just my thought. But yeah, that county plan is awesome, and it does. It includes our plan, and it includes an inventory list of all of the things that the community has through meetings that they have said
yeah,
that they
so
wanted.
In 2014, I immediately recognized when I was employed by the city that the North Riverwalk was in distress and needed some help. So I started requesting I got 10,000 the first year. I got like 20,000 the next year. And the Parks Department started doing some board replacements. They started doing things that they could do it in-house. Things kept getting worse. I mean, the boards break, we replace a board on the deck, then you start seeing that the structure that supports them is breaking. So also there's a lot of feedback from my staff. But then in these budget discussions, I said, we got to do more. And so when we sold the capital improvement bond, there's got to be some money in there, and it's not going to be enough to do a full upgrade. But if we went for a grant with the DNR, we could do a full upgrade. That whole thought process started literally in 14. It's 10 years ago already, you know. Yeah. But next year we should be able to, in 25, we should absolutely have some improvements. So not all these projects can be funded maybe in the time frame we want. But if we don't start planning them, if we don't get them in people's heads, and if we don't start looking for ways of funding them, they're not going to happen. Exactly. You know, Laney brought up acquisition of the lot at Man-Made Lake. Yes. We're talking about that internally right now. You know, there is a grant program through the DNR for acquisition. Yes, there is, so we're starting some internal conversations about that. Yes. When we met with the landscape architect about trying to create the plan for going through the beach master plan, she said, you know, at some point you may want to do an audit of your playground equipment. I'm going to guarantee it's going to tell you most of it's not in compliance with ADA and safety standards today. So is that something that we should know and then use that to our advantage to try to then upgrade and replace it? Do you leave it as it is? I mean, you can't turn a blind eye to it. But you know, we've impacted a lot of parks. We've been doing a lot of positive things, and the Community Foundation has shown a willingness to partner with us. And I think we've proven to them that the money is well spent, and the community really enjoys it. So, you know, I think we have to keep that momentum up, but we need to have these things laid out and planned. And I would love to work with you guys on it.
Good.
Please.
Yes, we would love to work, that's together, we gotta do that.
Yeah.
John, anything more that you want?
No, I think we're headed in the right direction. Yeah.
So I mean, it's almost the end of January, but February and March is when I compile the budgets and have to start getting things submitted to the finance director's office. So, you know, in the next 30 days, if we could work on that, if we can have, I mean, even if we just made a list of 3 projects and prioritize them, and then I'll work to try to get some cost estimate together. If you can go to the last slide I put in there, every item in the capital improvement project has an issue page. So this is an issue page for the Riverwalk rehabilitation. And you can find this all online. It's all online. But we've got a project title, what department, what fiscal year, what's the estimated project cost. And we do a little write-up of what the improvement would be. There's a justification statement, and then, you know, impact on operating expenses. Is it going to raise operating expenses? Will it reduce operating expenses? And then how would we pay for that? You know, most of these projects, you've got to have multiple funding sources, and you've got to be able to mesh that together. But every capital improvement project has its own issue page. And I think it's important for the community and council to be able to see those, read them, and plan for them. So I do all that. I'm happy to do all that. But if you guys can come up with some capital improvement projects and then prioritize them, that would be wonderful.
John, are you comfortable with just the committee, or is it time to have maybe a work session with everybody to have some more input on it, or are you fine?
Well, it'd probably be a good idea at this point to have a work session with everybody, and if people can't make it, then.
Specifically for this, if you can.
What's that?
Yes, specifically for this and the
I
budget.
mean, I think everybody on the committee would
Okay.
be comfortable with that.
So I'm going to throw this out there because this is something that doesn't exist today. But one of the topics when we met with Sarah from the foundation was pickleball. Every community, not just in Manistee County, but everywhere, there's a demand for it, right? So I think we all recognize that. It's not the upcoming, it's here and it's still growing. But the community foundation, I hope I'm okay to say it. I think the community foundation has reached out and said, look, we're hearing demand and interest from everywhere. So Sarah's putting together, what do we call it? The summit, a pickleball summit. That'll be representatives of people from the association, players, communities. And the city is committed to working with the foundation to try to find out for all of Manistee County and the community as a whole, where's the best place to build this facility, and who would own it, who would maintain it, and how do we fund it? And so we're trying to figure that one out.
Is it outside or inside?
It's the whole community, county.
Okay, so it could be either way?
It could be either, or it could be both.
Okay, there you go, yeah.
I mean, you're starting to see, we've talked about that. I turn on the news, it seems like every couple of weeks, there's a new community that found an old building and
Oh, sure,
put courts in it.
$7 million in Ann Arbor. Yeah.
Well, I've talked about this to more than one person. Because the old road commission building always looked like a perfect indoor place for community things, like pickleball. That building is a brownfield. That would be an ideal place to get started.
Yeah.
And you want some indoors, because Manistee doesn't have that. You can't play tennis indoors, there's no basketball courts indoors. If we could have an indoor and it had pickleball, and that's a nice location.
So I bring that up as an example. It doesn't have to be just, we need this improved at this park, but it could be something new. It could be a replacement. It could be an upgrade. We talked about the non-motorized park. That's been a very passive park since it was created. There's trails, there's some improvements, but we don't put a lot of maintenance. We hardly put any into it. Mickey was part of the Shoreline Cycling Club, so he volunteered a lot of his time. I would let him, because I trusted him, take equipment out there and use the equipment and stuff, but there's a lot of property and I like that it's a passive, quiet use, but there could be more. When we laid out the disc golf, we talked, geez, there's a lot of land for that. Maybe that would be a compatible use. A lot of the things the gentleman talked about tonight, but it's not going to it won't get done unless we have that in the CIP. So I think about it as a park-wide.
Let's pick a date for the work session. Someone throw a date out there.
Whatever it is, can we make it in the evening?
Yes.
Okay.
Like what time are you saying, Karen?
Anytime after 4.
Okay.
I'm gonna be back in town for the next meeting, or do you think that's too late? Like I was thinking the 13th of February?
Is that too late? Jeff, is that a little late, February 13th?
Information real quick.
Is
Well,
February?
my suggestion is if you're gonna have like a separate work session or meeting, that you do that prior to your next meeting. Because if your February meeting, you could then make a recommendation, and then I can incorporate that into the budget submittals.
15th?
Before the 15th.
Or the 15th?
Our next meeting is the 14th, correct?
No, the 15th.
Oh, the 15th.
Oh.
This was just an anomaly.
I'm sorry.
We didn't have
I made
on a
the-
Wednesday.
I'll be in town for the next, but I can always,
How about next week? I
Next
think we
week?
really need to get going.
Next week on a Wednesday, do you want to do a Wednesday again? How does that look on
The
everybody?
31st?
Yep.
I can do it.
Okay, here, I'll check tomorrow, see if we can use this room. January 31st, it's a Wednesday, and Karen, what time you've got kids and stuff? 6?
Anytime, yeah.
Say 6, does 6 sound good? 6, Jeff, are you?
Well, could we do 5:30 and then?
Yes,
Yeah,
5:30.
the regular time.
31st?
The 31st Wednesday,
Oh, okay, good.
I will call tomorrow and see if this room's available, and then I will send out an email.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay, thank you. Good. So then come a little bit prepared with some ideas. Kickball, anything, Karen, on that? Are we doing it next?
yeah, no, nothing yet. I would still like to see us get a kickball team together somehow, some way.
When is that
Anyways,
going to start up again?
Well, I'm thinking summer season, so sometime in May or June. They haven't given. They're just doing soccer now, some swimming, sign up. What else are they doing?
Are they doing skiing at Crystal this year?
I didn't see that. Yeah, I didn't see that on there. I'm sure they are. They do like a ski school tool, yeah.
They used to have a bus that went up like every Friday or Thursday or something, yeah.
Yeah, I like that partnership, yes. But anyways, if you guys got any ideas on there, I got a great name for a team.
Will that inspire us to play?
Yeah, well, it might.
Okay, moving on. Plain air, anything to report? Who is?
Well, yeah, I contacted the Manistee Theater, the director, and she seemed interested, but they have an art person. And she said that person would do most of the work. And she said, let's have a meeting, and this was during the beginning of December, during the whole Christmas event thing in Manistee. And I said, sure, we'll meet and kind of go over. I got, from someone I knew, I got this long list of how it really has to happen to do an event of that size, and it's huge. So I responded, yeah, let's meet, after this weekend. And I never heard from them again. So that to me signifies they're not really interested.
Right.
Yeah.
So I let it go. Karen has the idea that, and she reached out to the Purple Paintbrush because they have all the equipment, all the paints, the expertise to do, kind of more of a fun, laid-back event rather than a real artistic competition and along the Riverwalk. So maybe that'd be the route to pursue.
I would just like to go in there and speak to them about
I
that.
think that's a good idea, and I think
Yeah.
we could change it, you know, it
Because
doesn't
they got
every.
easels, they have,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, and she'd make a little money off of it, so that's, and people would sign up ahead and pay.
Exactly. So
Yeah,
I'd like to, you know, if you guys would give me the okay, I'd like to speak with her. And,
yeah, and we're just thinking like, one day down on the Riverwalk event.
Sure,
that
sure.
If it goes over, we'd do more.
Absolutely.
But it'd be
And she
neat to
might
see.
and when I talk about activities and things, I'm looking for partnerships. And
Yes.
I'm thinking I want the people that we partner with to help foster that activity where we step back.
Yes.
And they do the activity more than we do.
Yes,
We're just the catalyst kind
but
of.
the ideas of providing the parks.
Yes.
To proceed with that, let's say the purple paintbrushes, yeah, this is a good idea. What do we need to get from the city? So we're gonna be like behind the purple paintbrush.
Yeah, exactly.
With 12 people with easels.
If it doesn't require any city services, I don't think you need to do anything.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, just.
No, it's
but
just
we-
like
think so,
using the
but-
park for
Exactly.
Yeah,
another facility,
Exactly.
using the park, we're not,
Yeah.
right.
I mean, that's our idea, you know, or that's the idea. I'd like to pursue that a little bit. I think it could be fun, yeah.
I don't,
It's kind of just like, any other of the activities we've
Story
been doing in the
hour.
park, story hour.
Absolutely, how we partner with them.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
It'd be
just
yeah, I
activities.
don't see a need to create red tape if it doesn't exist.
Well, they get paid staff too. We're
Yeah.
not paid staff, so it's, you know.
Just come have fun in the
Yeah,
park.
and it sparks maybe an idea in them also,
Mm-hmm.
to, you know, pursue it or to continue it.
Hey, you would think they'd be doing that anyway, like a paint a sunset
Yeah, but
class.
no,
and,
yeah, well,
you know.
yeah, you would, but not, sometimes, okay, so you have 3 acres of land, nobody walks there, you put a walk path in, guess what? You already, you know, planted the seed, they know to walk in there, right? Where before it was
Sure.
there and out open for them,
They walk
but they
around.
didn't do it, yeah, exactly. So sometimes it just takes that little bit of, you know, to get it going.
Mhm.
Okay.
budget, is that covered, John, or anything more? The budget committee, is that covered pretty much, or do you want anything more? Okay. And the maintenance, we gotta get up to speed. Karen was on that, Kelly was on that. Does anybody else want to join maintenance?
Well,
Give us some stuff.
you know what,
Yes.
you know what I've kind of been doing, and it doesn't have to happen like this, I was just, what I did was I took the information that Kelly had submitted to us, and I did a maintenance schedule from that, kind of with what things could be done, like, the soonest to the latest, type things. Like things that could be done this season, maintenance, Fifth Avenue Beach was removal of posts without signs. That could be done immediately. Maybe on a yearly basis, we could look at the pressure washing of the picnic tables, benches, things like that. If it doesn't need to be cleaned or pressure washed, it doesn't have to happen that season. But I kind of did a immediate, it could be monthly, because she had some weeding in there. You know, that could be monthly. The other thing, 5-year, I thought like painting would be a 5-year type, where you go back and you look at what's been done, you know, the 5 years before. If it needs to be painted, then it needs to be painted again. But at least it gives you some type of,
So I think you should be on the
Yeah.
maintenance committee now that Kelly is.
You did it in Detroit.
Asked and answered.
well, wait a minute. Okay, I can do that too. Not an issue.
The Riverwalk update on the south side.
It's under design and progressing. We're working on selecting materials right now with the engineers, so I believe they expect to start construction in the spring.
So are you involved in that, Liz?
Well, they kind of haven't included us on the recent stuff, and the same thing.
No, we're in the implementation stage, so there was a committee to select the consultant.
And then all
Now
of a
we're,
sudden-
now we're in the implement. I mean, the grant application really defines the work we're gonna do. Now we're designing it.
Well, I guess that's my concern, because, you know, our girls here are the ones picking out colors. Are you at that stage yet? When you're talking, whatever the first portion you said?
The wood is brown.
Well,
I mean, that's the only thing that's been determined. We actually have looked at synthetic materials, because a lot of the project is replacing the decking.
okay, I admit we don't want different colors for that.
Well, you certainly can. There's options for that.
But is that something that could be afforded to this commission here so that we could kind of?
I think if there's architectural details,
Yeah, you know.
yeah, I don't like doing that.
Right,
I think just.
People don't, and some
progress
people do.
reports is what we like too.
Yeah.
Progress reports of what's going on.
Yeah, if you could just keep us, you know,
Yeah.
in the loop
Yep.
on that, real, you know, so that, but the colors, I think we would appreciate if you could,
Yeah, the only color thing I could think of
I think of some too.
would be if we change the light fixtures. Right now they're white, and we're hoping to be able to switch those out and put something.
Right, dark sky?
That works.
We're going to dark sky, compliant.
She's not talking about the color, you're talking about the effect.
I'm talking about the
Lights
appliance
light
itself,
up.
right?
Yeah, I know.
Not the color so much.
We're going for a maritime theme. That's all I can really say at this point. But there's a big component of this project that is kind of the plaza behind the college and a barrier-free access to their parking lot. And so I know the engineers have spent a lot of time working through some conceptual things, and they think they've arrived at a preliminary plan or a draft plan that the college is happy with, and that'll work in with the rest of the Riverwalk. So that was the biggest item, and now they're just putting the plans and specs together. I believe we have to have those submitted to EDA in the next week or two, the draft stuff. But I really don't think there's any cosmetic or color selections. But whenever that comes to, whenever I'm involved in the colors or materials, I always seek help out for that stuff.
Okay, anything on the North River Walk?
Just the fact that we received the grant, and so we won't get our paperwork until the legislature appropriates the funding for it, which we're hoping, we're hoping it'll be this spring, and then spring to summer, and then we would do the design next fall, winter, and begin construction in '25.
And then that streetscape, and the only thing that bothers me on that is that I read it in the newspaper. I wasn't aware that there was even the thought that you'd close down a road and add onto the park and change the parking and possibly the use of that building and lose it. I thought, wow, glad I happened to see it in the paper. It was like, I felt the same way. There was not communication on that at all. And
Well, they held like 4 community forums for that, so that's where they solicited and received public input.
yeah, but I think we should have been even included in that or told more. I mean, I not as a community member, but just as a parks. I think we should have been a little bit more.
Represented.
Yeah,
Maybe.
just something to. I mean, we've talked about this before, and it's really improved. So I'm just.
Well,
it's come a long way as far as the communication goes.
So I did a review of it probably 3 weeks ago at the city manager's request, their draft submittal, and I went through page by page. There's some beautiful things in there. There's some things that I don't care for, but I think the bottom line is it's a very ambitious list of things that can happen, but not even.
Yeah.
There's no way that we're going to be able to afford to do all of those, probably not even the majority of them. So then now the DDA is going to have to try to figure out a priority of what can we afford, what would have the best impact on the downtown. So there's a lot of work. It's not a design. It's concepts of what you could do to make it better.
Is it already given that we would shut that road there in front of?
No, that's just one of the options.
Okay.
Yeah, they have things that go over and, don't they? From what I've
Yeah,
seen,
there's a huge Riverwalk amenity.
Right.
There's the possibility of rebuilding the entire street from building to building. There's options for various levels of putting radiant heat under the sidewalks. So so you don't have to shovel the snow. There's different levels of improving public space at the marina, which could include redoing some of the marina grounds, or it could close portions of the street seasonally or permanently. So I'm not sure if that document's online, but I'm sure I can send that to you.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
But I think,
See that.
I didn't use a calculator, but I was just in my head, like, totaling them up when Brandon and I were going through it, and I think there's about $50 million of potential
easy.
there. So,
It's ambitious.
so not all of those elements will be included.
I mean, some of those are major changes, so I thought.
Major, yeah.
Yeah, but be aware. Okay. Let's see. I think we covered that under winter activities and then summer events. Winter activities, probably what he came to light was with that Dr.
That's
Wiener.
cool, yeah.
Yeah, to utilize
Yeah,
that more, but I don't think we're gonna do anything with that this winter, but to have some winter activities out there. We should have more winter activities. People are looking for things to do. They're just going crazy here right now.
Yeah, well, we need a, sports store or something that sells,
That rents.
or rents, yeah. I mean, you know, like snowshoes and I don't know. how
We
to
used to
say
have
it.
that. We don't.
Yeah, but I think that would be helpful, you know,
Yeah.
in town.
And the weather hasn't helped. I mean, it's like.
No, right, exactly. You have to do it when Mother Nature says you can, right.
So,
That's the one difference in there, but at least if you had the equipment available, people would be able to use it when you do have those winter events that, you know, allow for it.
Can I jump in
Yes.
with the winter?
yes.
I spoke to Mark Fetter down at the Historical Museum. This was actually prior to Christmas, and he said he was willing to do another talk here in this location, and we were talking about ideas for what he might want to do that he would find interesting, park-related, and he thought about it for about a week and called me back, and he said, what would you think, and he wanted me to present it to all of you, about doing kind of a history of the marina. I don't know if that involves what buildings were there or how the marina came to be, and something about the Tuesday committee, which I don't really know much about that, but he mentioned that a couple times. Was
We
really-
actually have a park that my staff calls Tuesday Park.
Oh, really?
It's actually right-of-ways, but it's where the DDA sign is on US 31. They call that Tuesday Park,
Really?
right?
I've heard that term, and I was like, I don't know.
Brandon's here.
Okay.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh, it's Tuesday Park.
Yeah, right?
But he wanted to know if that is something that we would be interested, if that topic was appealing or not, and he would be able to do it.
It's appealing.
I think it's
Too,
appealing.
I
We
like
even
it.
talked about doing it maybe in March.
I
or,
love when
you
he
know,
comes in.
sometime before
Yeah.
summer, before their season kicks off in May.
Maybe
I
late
think.
February, even when people are, February, March.
I don't know if it took them
Ask
to get
him.
together and.
He's an entertaining speaker.
Yeah,
But yeah.
Whatever he spoke.
I think
on.
it'd be fascinating.
I do too. I love learning about all
Okay.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
He picked the date, yes, and that would be good. He did a good job last year. He was
Yeah.
great, gave some.
And he wondered if it would be like, would it be best to do it right after one of our meetings, if we have a March meeting, or, I don't know if he could do February, it's a few weeks away, right?
You wanted, I don't know that we want it after a meeting. I almost think, what do you, you'd make that decision.
Well,
That's what we did last time.
We did
yeah.
last time, but it just seems like we have a long meeting.
I guess,
This one, because we missed December.
Here's the audio visual.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
just make it a point,
I was
We
trying
could
to.
do
think of
it. We could do
something.
it.
I was
maybe
thinking
not have
something, yeah.
all these committee reports or something.
Yeah. okay.
Because we want
We're
the
having a work
community.
session,
Yeah.
So we had a lot of input tonight.
Yeah.
Okay,
We could just make that be our meeting. couldn't we? Introduce them and.
well, if we met at 5:30,
We started
at 6, start our meeting and have an hour meeting. I don't think we should skip the meeting, but, and have him come at 7?
Because I think that's what you did, you abbreviated it.
Yes, let's abbreviate and have him come at 7.
Why don't we do a half hour?
Respectfully, you're going to have a work session in
Yes.
February, and then you're going to have a February meeting, so
Maybe March,
maybe include it as part of your March meeting and
Yes.
if he's,
And then
Tighten
what
up the agenda.
time, what time works best for that type of presentation?
I can ask Mark, I don't know how long it would be, or,
Yeah,
Like 6:30 or 7 for,
yeah, probably 6:30.
I think last time we did 6, we only did like
Let's do 6:30, and the reason I'm saying that, 6 o'clock's kind of dinner hour. I wouldn't come to,
I get that too.
I think 6:30 is better to start his thing, so.
Sure.
I will talk to him hopefully.
Perfect, thank you. That's excellent. That'll be good. Okay, on any of those other events, anything to report on?
Did somebody say that, oh, which one?
Game night, art.
Are we doing summer? Yeah.
Yes, now we're on summer 2024 events.
I thought I remembered somebody saying, upon my review of an old commission meeting, that there was somebody that they could speak to about a piece of art, maybe for our art drop this year. I don't remember who it was, and I'm sorry.
I think it was
kinda
me,
thinking
and
you,
I
yeah.
forgot about that.
Can
I
you-
got the plein air stuff, but I didn't ask about donating it.
I offered a local artist that was from Manistee as well.
He's got something too, so I'm always got you.
He's got
too.
pewter
Yeah.
ornaments, yeah.
But, yeah,
Okay.
I think we should start thinking about that now. Kelly and her son were awesome last year with getting that together at that, I mean, we got it together in 2 weeks and we did an awesome job, I thought.
Okay.
Karen did I had fun with that. I don't know what you guys thought, but I
That
thought.
was
Oh, that was
excellent.
fun.
I had my husband involved. It was fun. We were creeping around trying to get. And my husband's going, "Why are you being so quiet?" You know, and I'm like, "Stop it. We don't want anybody to see us." Anyways, it was fun. We had a lot of fun. I'd like to do that again, and I'm looking forward to it. All of the stuff I'm looking forward to, but you know.
So, on the movie night thing, in the paper, the library talks about,
A movie, right?
Yeah,
At the
put
Pocket Park.
yeah, put
That's
on
exactly
movies.
what I read.
And that, well, not
Yeah.
just at the Park, like they're gonna do it this summer, have movies.
Okay.
And I'm thinking,
Outdoors?
well, it kind of sounded like
Yeah,
it.
it sounded like it to me too. What I read.
Let's do it.
So, I don't know, maybe the library needs to be approached as far as where they're gonna do their movies, because
Ask
maybe
them to do it in
they've
the
gone
park.
through all the hoops
Right.
to get the proper.
Or they don't know.
Or they don't know.
Right.
You don't know about those.
They don't know that.
Right.
It's quite a bit.
But you think about
It
it,
is. I
they've
mean-
already have like CDs and stuff they rent out. So if they plug it into a machine, they've already gotten permission to distribute it. So
That's all we're
maybe,
looking
Yeah, maybe there's
for. We don't
different
need
rules.
anything, yeah.
so
Let them
maybe,
know that, maybe that, yeah, because they bought it and they're circulating it to the general public.
Right.
Exactly.
I tell you what, I'll make contact with the library and see what their plans are this summer for.
Oh, please.
Okay.
Tim, that's awesome. Thank you, Tim.
Yeah.
Take care.
Yeah, we'll see if we can support them.
Yeah.
We're trying to move that to the beach, First Street.
Absolutely.
Just the band shell
Yeah.
on the river wall.
That
Yeah.
would be
I'll
cool,
call
too.
him.
We got a lot of
Okay.
places we could do it. We got a lot of
Yeah,
places.
the band shell, you mean over across the bridge?
Yeah, yeah.
That'd be perfect.
You know, and we're not talking one movie. We can move it around, eh?
Right. I'll talk to them, see what they
They got
got.
Jaws at the.
thanks, Tim.
That would be.
Okay, thank you, Tim.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Tim. Bring that up. You're right. I forgot about that.
Then the memorials, I listed that on there because that's still, I think and it wasn't even a memorial, that bench at Duffy, that one,
That's under
That-
the overhang on.
yes,
yeah,
and
for
it's
the
like it needs to be
bathrooms.
replaced. And it's got someone's name on it, a name of a business under the shelter, the permanent structure at Duffy. I mean, can we just take that and remove it, replace it? What do you do with that? And that's the same like thing when those memorials, like the veteran benches one, what do you do? And that's why I think it has to be addressed before, when they're placing the memorial, that this isn't forever. Nothing lasts forever. The person you're memorializing did, that this is a,
That's not how the families feel, though.
Right. And I don't think that's the intent.
We just had somebody within the past month that said, "Where's my bench? It's gone. I don't see it. I want my $800 back." And it's been there for
Yeah.
20 years.
Okay.
but could
And,
we
and
address
we
that?
solved it, but people take that very seriously.
I don't know that other towns are doing it. I mean, I think if you tell them up front that this is the life of the bench, we're gonna do our best to
Right.
keep it
We can-
painted and preserve it,
I agree.
but it's not going to be for perpetuity because the bench physically can't last for perpetuity.
The only problem I see with that, to be honest with you, is that should have been established a long time ago when people first started doing this.
Yeah.
So now to reinvent it, I think like Jeff said, I mean, I have a memorial bench for my dad at Fifth Avenue Beach. You told me that was gone, I'd be like, what?
Yeah, no, I hear you,
No,
Tim.
so, I mean-
Absolutely.
But I do think moving forward,
Yes.
that's a good idea. But like the bench over there at Duffy, you contact them, say the bench needs to be replaced. Are you interested in replacing that, you know, or upgrading it? But I think we definitely at our point that with what we're doing, we need to have some type of guidelines established.
Yeah, the guideline would be like maybe put the plaque here somewhere in City Hall or something, that we add it to
John had a great idea.
a memorial and put it
Yeah, you
visible.
put all, you decommission the plaques and you put them all in one.
My batteries are dead, so I can't even hear it.
No wonder why you're just going.
Anyways, you got a great idea.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea to retire the plaques in one area somewhere inside the city.
I know how.
I don't think it has to be inside a building
Well-
because,
I guess if you want to change the policy, somebody should create the policy,
Create a
present
policy.
it to this commission, present it to the city, go through all the.
And maybe look to a couple other cities for the guidelines, but
You're not, have you heard of there's two types of policies that help govern us, and one is a general policy, and the other is a council policy. To me, this seems like a general policy that if you had some suggestions and wanted to put forth some ideas, I think the city could memorialize, sorry to use that word, could formalize that into a general policy that could be adopted by council. And then maybe when somebody inquires in the future about, you know, purchasing a memorial, there's some options and they understand what the obligations or something are. And because one of the things that's going to happen is Tim donated money for a bench in his father's remembrance. The city bought that bench. We can't buy those benches anymore. So when they break, when they have problems, we can't replace them. And so at some point, we're going to have to figure out, well, we've got all these Victorian ornamental metal benches with wood slats that we can't find anymore. So what's going to replace those? And then, if that plaque is gone for more than a year, the families call.
absolutely, well.
And I
that's why
respect
they
that.
purchase them. I get it, yes.
I guess the bottom line is, you know, maybe if we want to pursue it, we need to make a motion and pursue it one way or another, because I don't have a problem with it being forever when you do a memorial.
you don't have a problem.
I don't have a problem. So, you know, because this has been brought up before, maybe we should put it to sleep.
But then do we have it in our budget that, because pretty soon all these benches are going to be replaced and it's $850 a bench, and so if you had
You can't replace them, and the old ones were $850, they were $1,300 the last ones we bought.
right.
1,300 apiece.
But you might have to replace it with a composite, like the kind,
Yeah, Trex or something.
or composite, or like the ones we just bought at Morton's, that will last much longer.
Yeah.
And make that the memorial.
But not forever, you know, but maybe, I mean, I could be wrong on this, I mean, it's.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Memorial's forever.
Before,
Honestly, memorial's forever.
let's
Yeah.
just take a vote.
The plaque, so you.
Work session.
Well, should discuss it in the work session, because it is
Yeah.
it's a capital improvement once the bench wears out. It-
Well, I think it's a policy issue that's worthy of further discussion.
Yeah, it would have to go in front of the council probably anyway, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we'll just make- Okay, perfect. The Lions Pavilion, any,
Movement.
will those ever be online, or are we just gonna keep the way?
I think that's part of your budget discussion. If you recommend that we purchase software to make that system online, it may mean that's not a capital improvement, but that's a capital expenditure. And so that needs to be part of that budget discussion. So I think that should be part of your budget recommendations.
And we should also discuss what we'd
Yeah,
like.
who's
Or-
in charge,
or-
who's in charge of that? Who would you talk to in the city about getting that up? and running to even start it? Do you know?
Ed Bradford is our IT guy. Yeah.
And that you'd have to plan in the budget forever, once you
Right.
make that commitment.
Well, the highest cost is acquiring the software, then you have to pay maintenance on it annually, yeah. So the acquisition is probably a one-time,
Shot.
capital expenditure, and then the
Legacy
licensing and maintenance becomes added to the operating budget.
And then we should also discuss what
Improvements.
should be done at the Lions Pavilion this year. What are we anticipating, whether it's painting those little cubicles or whatever. Someone, just go down there and look at it before the work session and see what.
I have a small suggestion.
Yes.
There, a lot of people complain about the vegetation that grows up. That's kind of the south of the Lions area, but that goes up close to the deck that the Rotary Club built. And we've cut those, they grow back up. I think that's kind of every 3 years, we need to kind of brush hog that. I don't want to pull them. I don't want to destabilize that bank and create erosion issues. But I hear from a lot of people that wish that they could have that stuff cut down.
R&C.
Brandon and I were just talking about it. We're thinking about,
Keeps the erosion.
look at what it would cost to rent a brush hog, just the attachment, and then we would go in there and cut that down, and
Swiderski family volunteered because
they did.
yeah, is that off the table now, or is that?
I have had that discussion for several years. We brought it up last spring with them again, but they're very busy.
Probably be worth pursuing that with them. See if we can do that, because they were really interested in that, so.
So if I may, I don't know what kind of brush hog, but the group that was just here, they have a brush hog. I don't know if it's big enough.
Okay.
But they do have one. And then if I may, before you go too far with the software, there is Rec Desk, which is what the school system uses to book the pool and the Pain Aquatic Center, and their MRA is kind of talking about maybe thinking about how they could do that with gym space and fields. And so just before you go too far down the road of knowing that you might have to pay for software,
There might be something that's
Thank you.
available. Wow, thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Anything else to this?
Is this new business? Well, I kind of lost my new business.
She said that the school already has some software, maybe that would possibly work for booking. Other people are booking.
Do we have any idea on a time frame for this pickleball summit? Because I think it would really be helpful for the Parks Commission to have that background from a broad range, like, you were saying, private interests and all this kind of stuff, If we know what other people are thinking, what the data is out there for other options, then, we'd be much stronger in our positions.
Yep, so it's not set, but we're thinking towards the end of the winter. Can you hear me, John? The end of the winter towards the spring.
I can't hear you, I'll get it from them.
We'll hook you up.
But yeah, so it is
I'm
not
sorry.
set, it's just an idea, but I'm gonna put together a map that puts all of the pickleball courts in the county, things that are
Good.
proposed. So when we get the map ready, and I'm keeping a spreadsheet.
That'll help too, help with positioning.
So let me just do this as an example, just so you guys can think about this. So if the Parks Commission said we support a pickleball complex and we would think it's a good fit in the Manistee Park system, and we say, okay, well, let's put that in the capital improvement plan, and it's going to be somewhere in the priority list, right? Doesn't matter if we know how we're going to pay for it, but let's say it's a $400,000 project, and at least it gets in there. It may be listed as your top priority, it may be number 2, number 3, but we got dollars, and now it's in there. Like, it's the start. Because what she said is, we're gonna work on this in the late winter, early spring, but that whole process is gonna take a year before we get any site and funding and a project, and, you know, you go through all that. So it's not gonna get funded in the next budget, but this is where you gotta start the planning for it. So I just want to list that as an example, and that would apply to anything that you guys feel is important.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Can I ask, Brandon, how did you like those planners? Since we were on the Lions Pavilion, were those easy enough for you guys to
They
deal with?
were. They, you know, dewatering them
Yeah,
was, you know, I
Breeze?
say simple,
yeah,
but we'll see the outcome. I mean, we've left the plugs out, we've taken the plugs
Okay.
with us,
yes.
just so we're not trapping it, and
I
it
get it.
kind of tilted them, so natural. I mean, we sat there for 15 minutes with each one.
Did ya?
Yeah,
Okay.
just, but functionality and us moving them and filling them,
That's been, okay, no issues. I
no
like
issues,
that.
correct.
They worked as far as the success of the plants.
Oh, I
Yeah,
couldn't
I've seen
believe
them.
that.
Healthy.
I could not believe
And I was
that.
down there at
That was awesome.
late November, and those, I felt guilty pulling the
I-
plants out, because I
I
thought,
want you to, I was gonna say, don't
these are
do it.
still good, you know?
Well, that's why I was worried when we spoke of, do you want
Exactly.
me to pull them, or we just leave them?
Well, I didn't know what to do. They
Yeah.
were so
But
cool
they
looking
lasted,
still.
yeah,
they did. So that's good
But
going
so
forward.
far, they've been great, and,
I'm
you know,
glad to
through
hear
a
that.
season.
And not a lot of work for you
guys.
guys? It wasn't a
No.
ton of work for you? I like that
Not a lot of
too.
watering, right?
Can I,
To be fair, I think we did it once. The initial
I-
fill one
I-
time, and that's it.
I
They
think
weren't
that
cheap,
was.
and we bought them local, which
Yes.
was good too.
Yes,
And there was
absolutely.
quite a bit of water left when.
Was there really?
We did the initial empty.
Use those more places.
I would say they were still half full.
I'm happy to hear that because, yeah, they sounded like they would work. I didn't want to give you guys a lot of stuff. Can I make a suggestion though?
Yes.
Underneath, we only had a couple bricks to work with underneath them. Is there a way we could get something a little more stable?
A little more level.
Yeah,
A little more level and
to
stable?
be fair, I think it was a learning experience because of
That's
the
fine.
way, you know, the roof and everything, it was.
Absolutely.
How it was gonna sit,
Absolutely.
stay, I think.
I didn't know how the water was gonna come off of the roof and how,
Absolutely.
yeah,
So that's why we kinda did it with the bricks.
I get it,
Because
yeah.
the sander on it, we thought easy to move, easy to adjust upon what's needed without knowing how they sit, stand, and last, you know, with the
And
day-to-day.
they seem to be pretty stable.
Yeah. it
So I was
held
happy
up.
with that too, because when I saw how thin they were, I was like, wow, no, yeah.
That was
No,
good.
so far so good, and we're obviously
Awesome,
willing
thank
to
you. 'Cause-
change, you
yeah.
know, a little bit at the footings of it, so.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks, Karen shows them, she did a good job.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add, John, Tim?
Nope, I just like it, at some point, we talked about a long time ago, creating a brochure, activities that, you know, typical, most park departments have some type of brochure that lists summer, winter, fall activities, you know, for people to know to become involved in. So there's a lot of prototypes out there. We just would need to create one, and then people would be able to pick them up and see what activities are being done. So I'd like to see that get along at some point. So I thought about if we were going to do a disc golf tournament this summer. That's what I think we, some type of family activity. If we can plan that for maybe September, you know, sometime in there. I'll get with Tom and see what would be all involved with that. But it'd be kind of fun to utilize that for what, you know, for a family event.
I like that too.
Hey, can I suggest maybe we look at disc glow?
Sure. Night?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think that would be a.
Yeah, I think there's a,
like
I mean, we built it. I think we, people know it. We gotta promote it.
Love
And I think you'd be surprised at participation for that.
I do too. I just think it's a.
So I kinda like to gear that for maybe September,
Okay.
you know, that time frame. I mean, I'll talk to Tom and see when he thinks a good time frame would be. Maybe it'd be August, who knows?
Yeah,
You know,
got it.
for disc golfers. So, but it'd be
Fine.
nice to get a tournament going this year.
Good idea.
Yeah, start doing that regularly.
Yeah, 'cause I was thinking if we could get those, what are Lumi sticks or whatever, and you stick
Glow
'em on-
sticks.
Yeah, you stick them on the,
Sure.
on the
Basket.
baskets. Somebody fill in the blanks on the baskets, and then you have the discs that have I guess you can attach lights to them, from what I understand.
We can be pretty creative.
I think it.
Fun activity.
But the main thing is to get something established yearly so we can just keep it
Absolutely,
rolling.
I love it.
Fundraiser, whatever it might be, but,
Exactly.
you know, get team events, but I'll start getting the bug out there and see what we can do, but we gotta work on that quickly.
Okay.
I mean, I know we're in January, but man, time goes by.
Doesn't it? Yeah, it does. It does.
But no, that's all I got.
Love it.
Karen?
That's all I had.
I was reading the county master plan, and I see that they have North Beach as, could be a designated dark sky park. Is that something we could pursue?
A designated what?
Dark sky park, where you can see stars, where there's very little light pollution from lights in the area, from the
Yeah.
city lights and stuff like that. Is that something we could look at?
So
'Cause that
North Beach is just a strip of land with the walkway and then the elevated wooden walkway and then the platform down to the beach.
Right.
So there's not like parkland space, but I don't know, it's certainly, there's not a lot developed around there.
You need much,
The
really.
property to the north of it, we had done plan reviews on a development there several years ago, but I don't think that's active right now. But I don't know what that would entail, but I think it's kind of just labeling it or something, isn't it?
Well,
I think it is just labeling it, because we talked about that,
I think that would be great.
watching
if
the
we could-
northern lights. Like, we used to go to First Street Beach when the northern lights would come. Well, that isn't gonna work anymore.
Okay.
And so that's a good idea to designate a place, because
I would
we were
love to
saying,
see
where do you
that.
go now? That was what we brought up.
Is
I-
it just
there was sunlight.
intended not to bring in?
Well, and it's probably both.
Well, yeah,
Not
it
to-
is.
Not to pollute it
It's
with
gotta
our
be.
own lighting that the city would add, but it's also, if you're visiting Manistee, this is an area you could go if you wanted to look at the stars, if you brought your telescope to town,
Yes.
if the northern lights happen to be out, or,
The other person I thought could help us with this is Brooke from NASA. I think she would be a good, and I believe you have to have somebody that helps you do the process if you want to make it an international dark sky.
oh, wow.
area.
Then that would be a commitment on the city that we wouldn't light that.
Yeah, well, I mean, they have
I like
different, yeah, I think it would be awesome. It's great for ecotourism, it brings dollars. Some people just go to dark sky parks. I don't
It
know
makes you-
about maintenance so much, but I'm thinking, what kind of maintenance do you need to have with that?
Well, there's no space to do any improvements, so
Yeah,
it can't
so-
add any maintenance.
Exactly, so it's kind of what it is, but I mean, that was a suggestion, and when I read that, I said, really? I mean, somebody did some homework on it, and, because you have to have some place that's not gonna be developed and doesn't have a lot of light pollution. So, that was a suggestion, I was wondering if we might not wanna pursue that. We have Brooke that helps us with our NASA program.
She could also look at the M55.
There you
Yes.
There you go,
Yes.
that's another.
So that's a totally different one. If you had a clearing out there,
Man, look
then,
at what, yeah.
then that's a whole different
That's a
thing,
destination.
yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
So you have the headlands, you got all these dark sky parks, and people flock to them to view the stars. So I thought, man, if that suggestion's already in here, maybe we should pursue that.
Yeah, North Beach, from memory, it's only like 35, 40 feet wide
Right. I don't know.
down to the
Need
lake.
much, but that would be something maybe if you could talk to Brooke. Do you still speak with Brooke?
Yeah, I bumped into her something.
Do you? Okay, ask her about that, because she might be our advocate or
Hmm?
something. Because I do think you need to have somebody that helps
It's not
you
close.
with the process. And NASA was one of them that was suggested.
Maybe it is, yeah.
One of the organizations that help with that.
Yeah, it might be
I
too
just,
close.
I read that, and I said, that sounds like a slam dunk. A little bit, there is some stuff that has to happen, but I guess that's all I got at this point.
Okay, I have a few things. So back in the day, when I first started on the Parks Commission, there used to be a tri-fold flyer.
Yeah.
And it showed that all the parks, their address and everything. Could we please do that again? Because I think it would be really nice at the Hampton, it'd be really nice to have it at the Visitors Bureau in different places. Because if it's probably on somebody's hard disk someplace. and update it.
It's probably on a floppy disk by now.
I don't think it's that old, Jeff.
Yeah, right.
What is it,
Yeah, it could
Cobalt
be.
or whatever?
But, you know, maybe, and then we could, at the same time, integrate the piece, well, you know, this is a dark sky designated park, some of the
Yes.
activities that
The
are there.
winter with
You know,
the-
there's
Yeah,
9th Street boat launch, but don't launch your boat there if it's a nice boat,
yeah.
you know,
Well, we're
because
gonna
you break it.
We're gonna get to the point where you can, Katie has the something, don't you? Where do we find
She'd
it?
have it.
We have a file that's got some of the old
Yeah.
stuff in there.
I got some
Can we
from you
please
this
do that?
year, and
Well-
let me tell you what I did.
Previous commissions went away from that because
Yes.
everybody was stopped going to print media for marketing and
Yeah.
handouts and was going digital and,
Oh, yeah.
but that doesn't mean it couldn't be, it doesn't mean we couldn't add it as a
Yeah.
part of our budget process and have something like that created and printed.
I just,
It, we, yes, let's kind of, if I remember correctly, and I think I do, there was $800 in the budget at the time, and that's what we used the $800 for. We had our own special budget to do the printing of that flyer.
that would have to be.
And it just seems like it's, yeah, we have everything on the internet, but yet people still go to the Visitors Bureau. If it's sitting on the desk at the Hampton, at different hotels,
Yeah.
people will grab it and say, oh, I didn't know about that.
Real quick, can I add on that? This past fall, I don't think I've been to a meeting since that, since September. It's been a minute, yeah. So, Z's Carts, I was speaking with the owner of Z's Carts, and I explained to her that, about the Parks Commission, and she said, do you have any pamphlets? Well, right away, I thought about the one they handed me when I began on the commission, and I had an old one, and I went over and I asked Katie if we could have some printed. I said, I know it's the wrong time of year, but she said, I'd love to give those out on their golf carts. And I said, man, would that be a great idea? So I did give her the old ones. I told her they were old ones, and that hopefully we'll have some updated ones for her. But at least it's a start, yeah.
So they're asking for them even.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, so I kind of did that.
Good.
Last year when we started doing the Morton's planning, there was talk that we were going to paint some of the equipment, the slide, swing set. We still need to do that.
Yes.
So,
It's not done.
Yeah,
so
that's-
Jeff, especially now that Kelly's gone, she usually spearheaded that kind of thing for us.
The commission committed to that as part of
Yes.
our local match.
Yes. We
Yeah,
did.
so
Yes, we did.
when can we do that?
Anytime you want.
So, okay, so we're gonna pick a time in April. Okay? I'll bring it up again.
Okay.
Keep bringing it up, and
Yeah.
then
And then,
So we'll
we'll select the date. Let's get it on.
yeah, so I mean, honestly, you just need to pick a date, time for the work bees. Let us know what colors and we'll purchase the paint and all the supplies and
do you need to know?
Yeah.
30 days?
a week.
Oh,
Oh,
well, we'll do
cool.
30 days.
Might be a
So the last thing is, believe it or not, I read AARP, and Traverse City, Michigan was listed as one of the best small towns to retire in.
Yes.
So you know
Traverse
nobody can live there anymore, there's not enough room.
City. Right.
So they're gonna be heading this way,
Yeah.
and I thought you should know. And here's the article if anybody wants.
Well, what the article said, and I'm
Here
glad
they
you brought
come.
that up. The kicker on that whole article, why they got selected, where is it? Someone sent me a
Says,
text on that today. It was, if I could read it,
it's right here, I don't know, you want?
it said Traverse City, when livability.com named Traverse City one of America's top 100 small towns, it celebrated the abundance of parks and beach.
Isn't
That
that the
was
truth?
one of the main reasons why they were named was the abundance of parks. And it didn't even say the quality of the parks, which we're working on, it's the number of parks. People love a town that recognizes green space, and Traverse City appreciates that because they paid a fortune to take over that part of Power and Light, I think it was in the 60s and 70s, remember that utility company located on the bay? And they just said never again, and when they acquired it, they called it open space, so no one would ever have the idea of putting a building on it. And they got rid of the zoo.
Wow.
Okay, anything else?
Nothing else.
Is there a motion to?
Well, Jeff,
We've covered everything from me. We have. I made a list and I checked them all off,
Your
so.
punch card.
And
Katie.
Katie? Brandon?
You got everything?
I was reading about Traverse City's.
Anything you'd
It
like?
actually piqued my interest.
Yeah, honestly,
No,
yeah.
So-
I'm all set, thank you.
I will say one thing. So, Larry, was planning to retire. Sounds like he might be here through at least the next season. So that's great for us because he's got so much knowledge and experience. The two new guys are fitting in great. They're really enjoying it, and they're not even, it's winter time, but they're been working on the rink, and we're working on plans right now to get some painting done and some countertops replaced and doing things inside some of the restroom facilities. And then we're working on coming up with a list of maintenance items for the spring and moving forward. So I'm excited about the new mix of staff and think we'll have some good things happening.
I'm sorry, I got one more thing.
Oh,
I actually attended the NRBC meeting on the 8th. And it was interesting. And I kind of wanted, I had a hard time understanding where they're coming from. So I thought the best way to figure these people out is to go to their meetings. And they had some interesting ideas, but one thing that would affect us is they have a budget, which we don't. And they have approved doing like a dumpster drop at 3 parks in the spring, so people can, you know how there used to be the spring cleanup?
yes,
Doing a spring cleanup thing.
I gotcha, where they would bring
Yeah.
their stuff there and dump it.
Yeah, so in one, I can't remember the 3 parks. I know one was 9th Street, I think one was First. I don't recall the other one. And they didn't really have a date. So I thought I'd let you guys, because it's a park thing. And then, you know, they might be looking for volunteers to help man those when the time comes, and maybe we'd be available to help them. So, that's it. Honest, now I'm done.
Tell more about it. Is it
Yeah.
furniture or is it?
It's just bringing in one of those, this is just what I got from the meeting. I didn't ask any questions, you know, I was just a public person. And bringing in a brick dumpster and telling people, you can bring your junk, all the junk you want, to put in here.
Wow.
They'd be located in the parks.
Yes, they'd be located in the parks.
And that's for refuse to get rid of.
Yes, because, you know, now you're allowed 1 pickup on your normal, the first pickup of the month of garbage, you know, 1 item. Where before they used to have a big mess, people would in front of their yards.
I was thinking, how about a free cycle day, where you bring that kind of stuff to the park or wherever, and let people pick it up if they could use it, but you gotta take it with you if they don't use it.
Would
Well,
that be done?
Whoa. Easy.
Would that be done kind of, maybe at a
That's called the swap shop.
Would that be done, Lainey, during a time like before the parks are open for the year, like April?
It does,
before
the parks are never closed.
That's true too.
So,
Well,
so that's why I'm bringing it up, is they didn't come to us, but I'm coming to you to
yes,
share
no,
this
thank
piece
you,
of knowledge.
because,
I
yeah,
shared
that
at
is
their
something that
meeting.
we should, yeah.
So you're aware of it, and we're not shocked. I don't know, are you aware of it?
I am now.
Yeah, no,
Wasn't prior.
Because they have that habit, that's all I can say.
Okay.
So,
Fair enough.
I plan on going to the next one as well. And it wouldn't hurt for us to volunteer with them if they need help. And so,
I think that, yeah.
okay. Now I'm done, honest.
Is there a motion to?
I make a motion to adjourn?
I second.
In favor?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Seth, thanks for sharing.
Everyone. Thank you.